have asked me that same question about Walt being anti-Semitic or anti-black, I would respectfully have to disagree. That was not the man I knew. Spike Lee, who I respect a great deal as a filmmaker, made a comment once about Walt being a racist. And I'd have to say, Spike, you never met Walt. I did.
Always respect where you came from, the roots of your company, the beginnings, how you started, the people who created the company. You know, no matter how small you began and became very large, or how big you started and you became small, always respect your founding members. Because you wouldn't be here if you're in that company if it wasn't for them. You would not be making money off of them. You wouldn't be getting this much enjoyment if it wasn't for them. And people had, see, the thing about it is, and most people don't realize, when they say make America great again, and one of the major things is that we had visionaries back in the day. This is why we have the cities what we have today, because people were able to vision it, and the companies and the amusement parks, the entertainment, all this was made by people who had visions ahead and saw it and were able to create from it. One of the big ones was Walt Disney. You know Walt Disney very well. Take a moment and look up his life. Yes, there were a lot of issues back then, but a lot of people that lived in that period had a lot of issues. There were some things that were true and some things that were lied.
Walt has been described as politically conservative, but through 1940, he primarily voted for Democrats. In fact, people who knew him well thought that in politics he was somewhat naive. In any case, Walt firmly believed that the 1941 strike was inspired by communists.
He evidently heard that I had called them all a bunch of communists, and I believe they are.
Hollywood was a natural target for the politicians. That's the way they could make headlines. And so they would bring people before the House Un-American Activities Committee.
On October 24th, 1947, Walt followed Gary Cooper and Ronald Reagan in testifying for the congressional hearings.
And I feel that they really ought to be smoked out and shown up for what they are, so that all the good free causes in this country, all the liberalisms that really are American, can go out without this taint of communism.
Because that was what's going on. The same thing that's going on today. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. People will use words to depose other people. They will use word salad, as they would say, to scare the people and say, oh, he's racist. Oh, he's a P to the E to the D. Oh, he's a fascist. You know, you hear these things constantly. But do you know the person? Do you really know the person? Look what they've done before you criticize them. Look what they went through before you criticize them. Listen to their words. See, the best thing about this in today's age is people have put up videos of the past, and you could see in their own words of people from the past of what they've said, what they've done. Now with Walt, he's been gone for some time, and most of his family. I think Abigail and a couple others are the only ones left. But just recently, we were doing the 67th anniversary celebration, I think, of Disneyland. Disney, as a corporation, decided, and you saw the piece of it at the beginning of this video of the speech Walt has given that's always been put on every anniversary celebration, year to year to year. This is why I said the 50th anniversary at Disney World was not a 50th anniversary. It was just a cash grab, because stuff like this was missing from the celebration. This is what we tell you, that people want to erase history. Doesn't matter what you think about when you hear Columbus or the Civil War statues and stuff like that, and they say, well, we got to tear it down. It says, no, we don't have to tear them down. We need to keep them up, because it reminds us where we were many years ago. People say, well, it's racist. It's like, a lot of those statues aren't racist. They were statues commemorating a time that was devastating to this country. We have World War I, World War II memorials, Vietnam memorials, things, war was never a nice thing. War was always a bad thing. Nobody likes war, okay? Let's put it in that perspective, whether you're on one side or the other. But you got to look at the perspective of what happened, and always remember. And in this perspective, you have to look at where this company came from, how it was built, and hopefully that, it will fix itself down the line, because what's happening to it is being destroyed from within like a disease. I want to read a little bit of this into from Bounding into Comments, Jacob Smith's article. No company has done more to tarnish the legacy of its founder than Walt Disney Company. And this past week, the multinational corporation took it a step further. Disneyland Parks has removed the founder's opening day speech from the birthday celebration of Disneyland. Disneyland recently has celebrated 67th anniversary of the park's opening date in 1955. Noticeably missing, however, was the speech that the founder, Walt Disney, made in view as a pro-American in its messaging. Now remember, Disney is an American company, built in America, as the old Ford commercials would say. It was built, grown, and we expanded outward. The quote that was removed from Walt saying the following: "To all those who come here to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here ages release the fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideas, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hopes that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world." Last year, it was rumored by insiders that the Walt Disney Company was slowly phasing out its founder from their history, with the belief that they would attack him as a racist. As Disney scooper WDW Pro explained last year, there is a concerted effort brewing, and that effort is to besmirch the man who founded the company. Sully him enough, cover the deceased genius with enough filth, and you could justify shuffling off his legacy down the road. It won't be this year, it probably won't be next year, but Walt's got to go to get into China truly. Walt has been a major sore spot for progressives, giving Walt's staunch anti-communist views during the 1930s and 1940s. Walt Disney vocally opposed communism and was a leading figure that prompted an investigation of the communist agitators in Hollywood during the labor dispute in 1941. Yeah, most people don't realize that. A lot of the rhetoric and things that were put in the papers were done by members in the union that were trying to get him deposed so they could promote their agenda. And this was back then. And this is nothing against the union crowd itself. This was certain people in those unions. This is what happens, and this is going on today. You have people that have creeped into companies, unions, corporations that basically have corrupted these companies. Walt founded the Motion Picture Alliance for Preservation of the American Ideas and testified before the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1947, where he gave the FBI names of individuals in Hollywood he believed to be communist. Walt Disney attempted to create a blacklist in Hollywood to keep the communists out of entertainment industry, and as a result, communist unions and newspapers smeared Walt as a fascist and Nazi sympathizer. See, this is where, again, history repeats itself. History repeats itself. Doesn't that sound familiar to what's going on today? Doesn't it really? Despite Walt lampooning Nazis and Hitler for years during World War II, progressives in Hollywood have spent years propping up this narrative against Walt for decades after his death. Progressives who were sympathetic to communist and Marxist ideas have worked for decades to tarnish and remove Walt's legacy from his own company.
It was pure nonsense. I think that whole idea should be put to rest, and I think buried deep, because there's no validity there.
It's slander. I think Walt was the most even dispositioned, even-minded human being I ever met. If a person is a nice person, he loved you. I don't care what your color, your race, your creed. That's the way he was. He didn't have any prejudice.
Earlier this year, during a viral staff meeting among Disney employees and executive producer LaToya Raveneau and president of Disney's General Entertainment Content, Carrie Burke, and others admitted to having a not-so-secret agenda to push a gay and queer content into the programming targeting children. In a video meeting that was obtained by journalist Chris Ruffalo, Burke spoke on how it was important to have many LGBTI characters in our story as a mother of a transgender and pansexual children. See, this is where the other half of this story is. You have these are activists. And I'll bring this up again. If you've seen this article, then you go back, this is about 2012. There was a gay channel, Logo. Nobody had a problem with Logo. It basically was a channel. It was a gay channel. Had a lot of entertainment on there, but people in the gay community didn't want to see this all the time, and they admit to it. And they say, we're human beings. We're all people in this world. We're not defined by our sexuality. We don't go around, hi, my name is John and I happen to be a gay man. We don't go by that. But you have a group of minority in there that just want to push and push and push. And those in the gay community, in the lesbian community, some in the trans, some in the drag queen, they're all beginning to speak out now and say they don't represent us. They don't represent our values. And those, as they say, the LGBTQ mafia are hitting back at them. They want to keep them silent. I don't have any problems with gay people. I don't have any problems with trans people. I agree. Trans people need help. They need help. They need help as far as, because they're depressed. They're going through the depression. And some of them, you hear the stories of people that have converted to the opposite, and then they're converting back, and what they have to go through, and the sicknesses and all that, and the whole push for children to do this. And that's a danger in itself. That's a whole story in itself that we can discuss, but we're not going to get too much into that part of it. Let's get back to the article. A Disney production coordinator identified as Alan March, who says he's worked on Disney's Moon Girl series, also revealed that Disney has actually created a tracker in order to determine whether or not the company is creating enough LGBTQ characters. March said, I had the privilege of working with Moon Girl team for the last 2 years. They've really opened up exploring queer stories. I'm on the production side part of the work that I feel like I put making sure that we take place in modern day New York, so making sure that it's an accurate reflection of New York. Made for the modern era. Remember that. Remember that term. I always keep throwing that at you. I always keep throwing that at you. And this is what's going on in the Disney Corporation. They're no longer being family friendly. We've seen the fights that have been going on. And it's not only in Disney parks, there are other parks, before you say it in the comments on there, but you've seen a lot of it in Disney. You've seen what they're doing to the rides. You've seen the damage the rides are. They're basically, we've had a lot of issues. I mean, we had a sewage leak in Disneyland. You saw the pink stuff that basically on there that helps to clean the pool out, so you know that there was a leak there. That's why we tell you, never drink the water out of the water rides there, or the lakes that are in that area. You're going to get sick. And you've seen the mistakes, the disastrous business dealings. The Bright Line comes to mind at this moment, that Disney has decided not to create a Bright Line stop at the Disney parks, which would have been advantageous to Disney, to bringing people from the airport to their parks and also to their cruise lines as well, which would cut time down by over an hour. And this is the thought that they have. And then, of course, if you've not seen the construction videos at Epcot, what they've done to Epcot. Epcot is no longer Epcot. It is no longer Walt's dream. Yes, Walt died before he could see his vision fulfilled. Also, another person died before this was able to be pushed really to where it's supposed to be. What does Epcot stand for? Educational Prototype of Community of Tomorrow. That's what it was. The rides that they got rid of, Horizons, World of Motion, the over in World Showcase, the Maelstrom. Change the Maelstrom to the Frozen. Who the fuck wanted that? You could have created a Frozen ride separately. You took away the history of the people of that area. That's what you've done. You've erased it. When you go to World Showcase, you're there. It was built so you can learn other people's culture. That's what it was built for. To strengthen our relationship with other countries, to learn our differences so we can prosper better. But Disney saw it as saying, well, an IP job, intellectual properties. Throw in a little bit of some Marvel stuff in there, change the roller coaster to Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy in there, and who knows how much more. Look what they've done with the Food and Wine Festival. It's become a joke. It's become a total joke. And of course, don't forget the programming that they're doing. What they've done to Marvel, what they've done to Star Wars, and everything else. All the content warnings that they've been putting up on some great shows, Zorro, the TV series, X-Men. I mean, they put up a content warning on Spider-Man and Amazing Friends because you had one of them was the Return of the Red Skull, and there were Nazi logos. The Red Skull was in the Nazi Party. He was the bad guy, and you see how slowly that they kind of pushed him out. With the last of this, with Endgame and all that, he should have been in there a little bit more present in the Marvel universe. No, now he's like a ghost on this planet, protecting one of the jewels that Thanos was after. One of the Infinity Stones. And Red Skull was a big villain. And I hate to see what they're going to do with Doc Doom. I mean, there's rumors now they want to make it into Victoria Doom. They have no idea the backlash that they're going to get when that happens. And already Submariner looks horrible. And it's not because of who they chose. It's the look that they're giving Submariner. They say, oh, it almost looks like... no, it doesn't. They're changing things in the universe. I mean, look at Titania on She-Hulk. Holy crap. Even the actress that's playing Titania says, well, I think they kind of messed up. This is what's going on there. So you tell me, what do you think of them removing Walt, that they're erasing Walt Disney from the company itself? Please comment in the comments below. Subscribe, like, share. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.